Escaping this terrible system is what I want for myself and anyone else who wishes to escape as well. The problem that we will all face is what resources do we wish to escape with? It will become absolutely necessary to create our own currency. As we speak, billionaires are promoting and creating their own cryptocurrencies. Should we have our own cryptocurrency? No, because we would all eventually be back in the same situation. Discussing why would be beyond the scope of this video. I'll eventually talk at length about the structures of the system that has us all. Before the end of this video, we can together learn how to make our own currency. If we maintain our focus on escaping, multiple currencies will present themselves. But for now, I'll focus on one. So, how can we escape? Over the last few years, my Twitter timeline was full of people claiming to have their passports ready just in case. I don't take this as hyperbole. I myself had and still have an intense desire to escape. But what am I supposed to do with just a passport? I believe I do have the ability to make a life for myself almost anywhere. But how can I be certain the same things that are happening here won't happen there? Also, I'd like to help other people escape as well. A passport is simply not enough. We're human beings. Various forms of paper won't save us. We need to focus on the basics of what we need to survive. We need food, water, shelter, and energy. Of the things that we need, an abundance of energy can create the other three. So the first part of the plan is to have a not-for-profit organization where we can pool our resources together and buy our own energy-producing assets. Meaning, if 1 million of us got together and owned our own energy, each person would receive stored energy at a certain rate. All around the world, there are only two choices for energy resources, either from a government or a big business. In fact, it's almost always a monopoly. If we want to escape together, we need to make our own energy and store it ourselves. If we are going to do this ourselves, it's important to consider the best sources of energy. For this organization, I choose nuclear power. There's a great deal of misinformation about nuclear power, and most of the misinformation is coming from and funded by sources that don't want things to change. The bottom line is nuclear power is the current height of human energy production. It produces millions of times more energy than anything else on the planet. What about the waste and the danger? Firstly, modern nuclear power can be run on the waste produced by the older generations of nuclear power plants. Secondly, modern nuclear power can't explode and is walk-away safe. The issue is there's federal law that says it can't be within 5 miles of human populations. Well, that can be easily solved. I want to put them in the ocean. If we put them in boats and deep sea platforms, they can be many miles from civilization. Then how can we get usable energy? We store the energy generated from the nuclear power in a liquid hydrocarbon. I choose jet fuel. Jet fuel is highly energy dense, can be safely transported, doesn't degrade over time, can be stored at normal atmospheric pressure, and is stable over a wide range of temperatures. Well, how do we make jet fuel? On top of the nuclear-powered boats, there will be large fans. One technology in the fans will be a dehumidifier. Being in the middle of the ocean, there will be lots of moisture in the air to condense. The next will be a carbon dioxide capture technology. There are many, many companies on the market right now that have both of these technologies for sale. Carbon Engineering is a company that is currently marketing solutions that turn carbon dioxide and water into any liquid hydrocarbon that you'd want. I'd like jet fuel. As for which type of nuclear power I'd use, for simplicity's sake, we can use the things that are available currently on the market. NuScale Power has a small modular reactor for sale right now. What they offer is a simple solution. You purchase reactors shaped like batteries and they last continuously for 12 years. When the power stops, you buy replacement small modular reactors and they come and take out the old ones. In terms of waste, this isn't the absolute best. There are other options that I will talk about in the future. But what I do like about this is that we can buy it right now and have 12 years of continuous non-stop energy before we ever have to think about energy again. So, how much would such a thing cost? Their model plant costs $2.5 billion. They didn't make it yet, I don't think. That's expensive, right? I'm just going to round it up to $3 billion. It would be cheaper to have it in the ocean than on land, but there are other things that I'd like to add. And also, $3 billion is a nice round number. If 1 million of us pooled our resources together, we could own a nuclear-powered boat that would ship jet fuel to wherever we wanted on the planet for only $3,000 each. Now, how much jet fuel would you get per month? I don't know for certain. If I were to guess, it would be about a shot glass worth of jet fuel per month. Considering that most people don't have any energy coming in per month, it could be a life changer for them. But I'd say we could do better. In my previous video, I posited that we can create a perpetual energy device. While the principles are solid, it's prudent to use an actual heat source rather than allow the chain to power itself. Fortunately for us, we will have a continuous high heat source for 12 years. Another reason why I use NuScale is for this video. They clearly illustrate the heat to electricity cycle. The modular reactor generates heat. The heat boils water and makes steam. That steam then spins a turbine, generating alternating current. The steam is then cooled in a condenser, turning back into water. Then the process repeats. On my nuclear-powered boat, I'd like the heat to pass through at least 1,000 free piston Stirling engines to generate almost 1,000 times the energy output. Then finally have the heat pass through a steam condenser. In this way, instead of having a single shot glass of jet fuel per month, you could have a few gallons of jet fuel per month. That's an even better deal, right? It's a game changer, isn't it? $3,000 for a few gallons of jet fuel per month for 12 years. Also, it'll be carbon neutral because we made it out of thin air. That's a good deal, right? If we don't do this ourselves, it will never happen. Now, we have to think about where would we put this stuff? The obvious choice is at airports. Thanks to the pandemic, airports all around the world are struggling financially. Here in America, the airports have begged for and are in the process of receiving billions in federal aid. I suspect that they would be amenable to a new organization that wants to store copious amounts of jet fuel at their locations, for a fee, of course. I don't know how much such a thing would cost, but I suspect that it would be much cheaper than the nuclear-powered boats. We have collective energy assets, and we will also have collective energy storage. The energy will be yours, and you can use it as you see fit. When I thought of this, I was trying to run for mayor of New York City, and I got tripped up with misinformation and missed the filing deadline. I mention this because collective energy storage could be rife with fraud. I originally imagined a government agency handling this with complete transparency. A not-for-profit is the next best thing. In order for me to feel comfortable about it, the collective energy storage needs to be as open and as transparent as possible without violating anyone's privacy. Overselling collective energy storage space could be an unmitigated disaster. Once we can safely say that the collective energy storage is accurate, what can we do with that jet fuel? The first and most obvious thing we can all do with jet fuel is to trade it for air travel. Not only are airlines currently struggling because of COVID, but they also are fighting for survival because of rising jet fuel prices. I don't think it's presumptuous of me to believe that airlines would trade flights for jet fuel. In fact, such an arrangement would be mutually beneficial. With regular amounts of jet fuel coming in, some people may opt to visit a different city every weekend. What else could we do with jet fuel? We could make electricity. Sure, we could do it the old-fashioned way of burning it, or we could use a solid oxide fuel cell. There are a number of companies on the market selling these things. Also, NASA's Glenn Research Center recently developed a novel solid oxide fuel cell with 5 times the power density of current solid oxide fuel cells. These fuel cells can convert hydrocarbons like methane, diesel, gasoline, and jet fuel into electricity with at least twice the efficiency of combustion. What does this mean? It means any city can power itself with carbon neutral jet fuel with solid oxide fuel cells. If your city opts to forego their local monopoly and allow the people to own their own energy assets, then we can collectively buy as many solid oxide fuel cells as we want. And all the collective owners of each fuel cell will receive usage fees payable in jet fuel. Lastly, we can use jet fuel in cars that run on solid oxide fuel cells. In 2016, Nissan unveiled its prototype solid oxide fuel cell car. It didn't receive as much attention as other vehicles, but if you've got many gallons of jet fuel coming in and you want to drive with it, it can be done with a solid oxide fuel cell. I said the currency would eventually present itself, right? If we all have collective energy storage and multiple ways for the jet fuel to be used, would someone be willing to trade you for it? I think yes. How would this work? The easy way is if both parties lease energy storage with our company. In this case, you are free to transfer the energy from one person to another as long as the other person has space. The other option would be if you trade with a person who doesn't have energy storage. That person would have a time limit to use their energy, or there will be fines in jet fuel. There's an important distinction that I'd like to make. Only living beings or government entities will be able to own energy assets with our organization. But anyone, especially businesses, can own energy storage. I would actually be inclined to give businesses bonus storage space, because this is where the energy will likely go anyhow. Doing things in this way, every single one of us can have usable currency that we ourselves created, and we will use ourselves. So-called market headwinds will be a thing of the past. Thanks for watching. If you want further information about the technologies in this video, check the info box. Myself and this channel is dedicated towards escaping the system. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you'd like to support financially, you can leave a tip or maybe buy one of my books. The links are below. If what I've said inspired you to take action, you can comment below or on Discord. The link is also below. I know that I can't do this alone. We can all escape if we work together. Until next time.